It's 105.5 WDHA here on the Morning Jolt. You may know him as Steve Buchanan. You may know him as Stevie Bukes if you watch MLB Central. And we welcome Steve Buchanan from DraftKings here to the Morning Jolt.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for asking me to come on.
You're very welcome. So we get game one, a Yankee win, even though Cole gives up a home run. I don't know about you. I was holding my breath when he took the mound.
Yeah, of course. I mean, why could you not? I mean, the last time we saw him in the playoffs was against the Boston Red Sox in that wild card game. And, we all know how that ended up playing out. Obviously, it wasn't the scenario that Yankees fans wanted to have. But there is this perception out there that Cole doesn't pitch well in the playoffs, despite how good his stats really overall are. So I think that kind of put that to rest for the time being. And I think people don't give enough credit to how good the Guardians actually are. Like, for them to have won that division and to be in this position, no one gave them a shot, myself included, to even be playing in late October here. So that was a big start for him. That was a big, I think, ego boost for him going into these playoffs as they go deeper into it.
I agree. I see the Guardians as a real sleeper team. I could easily, even though the Yankees have that one game lead heading into tonight's game, I could easily see the Guardians coming back and winning this thing.
It wouldn't surprise me either, because here's the thing, and this is kind of how I've said this. When you put these two teams beside each other on paper, you can't recognize 80% of the team on the Guardians, where obviously the Yankees are a who's who when it comes to pitching, when it comes to offense. But the Guardians are just one of those like gritty teams, and they have a bunch of guys that aren't household names. Like, look at when they get deep into their bullpen and they bring their closer in. Like, if you watch the stuff he throws, it's like an alien is coming out of his hand when he lets go of the ball. It's amazing what he can do. But, guys like Tristan McKenzie, who have been coming up lately, Shane Bieber, I mean, those are legitimate guys in that rotation. I said that this series is going to go 5 games. That was my prediction there, because I think they're both going to get steal a couple games as we go on here, but I think this goes at least 5.
Steve Buchanan from DraftKings, my guest here at 105.5 WDHA on the Morning Jolt. Let's quickly turn to football. Both the Jets and Giants doing better. I thought the Jets would be better this year than last. They've really surprised me, Steve.
They've stolen a couple of games, right? Like, coming into this season on DraftKings, the over-under on their win total was at 6 games. And the juice was heavy on the under in this one here, but they're already halfway there, right? Like, they're almost at that point already. And the surprising thing to me was, and how I felt good about Zach Wilson, was Joe Flacco was playing good enough during the first few weeks of the season that when they said Zach Wilson was ready, I truly believed in my mind that Zach Wilson was going to be ready to play, because they could have absolutely rolled Joe Flacco out. And I think it was week 4, was it, when Wilson returned. He came back. He was fine. They got a much better offense this time around. Like, I know they had some really bad injuries to start the year, especially on their defensive line and their offensive line, but they're playing a lot better than a lot of people expected. But I will say their schedule for the rest of the year is pretty tough. That's going to be the real test for them going forward. There was some winnable games here in the first half of the season. They did grab some of those ones, but yeah, you can't take away how much better this team has looked so far.
Bill Parcells was always very fond of saying, you are what your record says you are. And the Giants, with their record right now, look really good. But how much of a mirage do you think that record is at this point, Steve?
Yeah, that offensive line is razor thin. Like, how many, it feels like maybe Daniel Jones is running by design. I don't think so. I think he's running because there's just 3 or 4 guys about to be in his face, and the amount of pressure that he constantly has. The problem with the Giants is, like, they need solidified receivers in that offense. Like, there's so many guys that, like, Golladay is just like, we can't figure out what's going on with Golladay. He doesn't really have that rapport with somebody. You would expect that guy to be Sterling Shepard, but of course he's done for the year because of the injuries that he's had. So he's really kind of honing in on somebody not named Saquon Barkley. And I think that's kind of what will help them push them over the edge. But he really needs some help up front, because he can't be running like this and constantly under pressure as much as he is. I mean, he's amongst one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the league so far this season. That's got to stop if they want him to succeed, because when he's working with a clean pocket, he's so good at throwing downfield, but we don't see it enough because he doesn't have the opportunity. That's going to be their biggest flaw as the season goes on. But hey, you know what? The record is what the record is. You can't take those wins away.
Jets, Giants coming up, of course, this weekend. Yankees, Guardians, game 2 tonight. Steve Buchanan, DraftKings. Thanks for your time and your input here on the DHA Morning Jolt.
Hey, anytime. Thanks so much.